If you've been in real estate for a few years and your business feels like it's stuck, like meaning you're working really hard but the results just aren't growing, I want to tell you something that might be a little uncomfortable to hear. The problem isn't that you're not getting enough leads or that you're not working the right source of lead. The problem is you keep starting over with strangers instead of actually building on people you already have in your system. So today I'm going to show you a process that I call prospecting on two parallel tracks. What that means is you're not out finding more leads, but actually changing what you are doing with the leads you're currently generating or the people that you're already meeting, because every single person that you come across as an agent is either a now appointment or you're going to capture them to be a future transaction down the road. And here's what I've found. Most agents are letting both of those slip through the cracks every single week. Here's what happens somewhere around year 3 or 4 in the business. You've got some experience, you've closed some deals, and you've got all of the basics of real estate figured out, but your business just doesn't seem to be scaling the way you expected it would. So what do most agents do? They go chase a new lead source. They go buy Zillow leads. They run social media ads. They change how they're going about building the business. But the problem is they're always hunting for something new because it feels like you're actually making progress. But here's the problem. Every time you go after a cold lead, you're starting at zero. Zero trust, zero relationship, zero reason for them to choose you as their real estate agent. Meanwhile, every other agent who's building consistent business over $250,000 a year, they're not doing more prospecting than you. In fact, I would guess they're doing less prospecting than you are. They're just prospecting better. They're working with people who already know them, like them, and trust them. And so what I want to share with you today is how do you go about doing that? Okay, here's the fix. What you want to do is what I call prospecting on two parallel tracks. Now, what that means is this. You have a primary objective, which is to set an appointment. But then I also have a secondary objective, which is to capture this person as a lead or someone I can stay in touch with over time so that when they are ready to buy or sell, they're going to call me on their own. And the way you approach that is completely different in how it fills up your pipeline. So let me give you some examples of what that looks like. Now, for me, I always like to talk about this in terms of open houses first. Now, you may or may not like open houses. So if you don't click off the video. Look at the principle that I'm going to share with you. Because at an open house, most agents think that they are a waste of time. But we did a study a number of years ago where we tracked all the people who come to an open house. And here's what we found is 82% of the people who show up at an open house will do something real estate related within a 1-year period. And most of those people are going to do it 6 to 9 months after they show up at the open house. Here's the problem though. Most agents look at that as an open house being a waste of time. They have people show up. They may or may not have them sign in. They walk them through the property or they say, go look around. And then as the person's leaving, the agent says, hey, if you have any real estate needs, if I can help you, here's my card. And then what are you left with? Nothing. Or actually what you're left with is hope, hoping that they're going to call you. Now, how many times have they called you? And I know the answer. It's not very often, if ever, have they called you. So here's how you change that through this prospecting on two parallel tracks. The first thing that you're going to do is primarily try to set an appointment. So my recommendation is you're going to try 3 times to ask for an appointment. And I'll teach another class about how to do that. But for the sake of right now talking about the two parallel tracks, your primary objective is I've got to do everything I can to set an appointment with this person before they walk out of this house. Now, in the event that you don't set an appointment, this is where the magic shows up, because this is where the other track shows up, which is looking for the future business. Now, let me explain what I mean by this, and then we'll come back to the open houses. Think of the prospecting on two parallel tracks as now and future, But think of the now business is you're a hunter. You're going out to try to find food to feed your family today. And I get it that a lot of you, that's how you're approaching the real estate business is, I need money to pay my bills next month. So all the more reason to set that appointment. But think of the future side of the track as being a farmer. A farmer goes out and plants crops, and they are not planning on using that food today, but they are planning on a few months down the road reaping a huge harvest. And if you'll look at it that way, it will hopefully change your approach to your prospecting. Because I primarily want to set an appointment, but if I can't, I want to gather as many people as I can who are expressing an interest in real estate, because over the next 6 to 9 months, they're going to mature into an abundance, a crop load of prospects or people that you're going to be able to help with real estate. And if you can understand that, that will help you understand this 2 parallel track system. So let's go back to the open house. I'm primarily going to try to set an appointment, but if I can't get an appointment, I want to capture that person. And here's how you do it. You're going to say to them, I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with about real estate. I would like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? When they say yes, you're going to capture their phone number, their email address, and then obviously their names so that you know who you're calling. Then over time, what you're going to do is stay in touch with them about real estate so that you build within them the confidence of you're the expert, you're the person they can trust, you're the person they rely on for real estate information. So before they leave the house, think of it this way. You're either getting an appointment with them or you're capturing their information so that you can stay in touch with them so that over time, when they turn into a transaction, you're the agent. Let me give you a quick example of that. So I had some agents that I was teaching this on who are struggling at getting appointments at open houses, which, by the way, you should be able to get 4 out of 10 appointments with people who show up. If you're doing less than that, you need help, and I'm happy to help you. But these guys were not. So I said, let me come to your open house and see if I can help you figure out why. So I'm there at the open house, listening to them walk through the property with people. And while we're doing that, I notice out the window, I see the neighbor from across the street coming over to the house. Well, as the neighbor comes in, the agent who takes them through the house, walks them through, talks to them, seemed like he got into good rapport with them. And after they left, I said to the agent, did you set an appointment? He said, no. And I said, well, did you at least capture their information and get permission to stay in touch with them? No. And I said, why not? And the agent said, well, because they live right across the street. Like, they're not going to buy this house. They live right there. And I said, okay. And he said, just have some friends that live in Wyoming. And so they were here because they wanted to see if this house would fit for their friends in Wyoming, and they don't think it's going to. And I said to those group of agents, the same thing I'm going to say to you right now. Don't believe what they say when they walk in. Because the reason they're telling you that is they don't want you to try to be the typical salesperson who's going to bug them and try to get them to do something they don't want to do. And I said, you should go back over and knock on their door and get their information. Well, he didn't. Well, now fast forward about 6 months. 6 months later, a different agent who was not at this open house comes to me and says, can you help me do a CMA? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help you do a CMA. What's the address? They tell me the address. As soon as they gave me the address, I'm like, I recognize that street name. So I take that address, I plug it into the MLS, and the property pops up. And as soon as it popped up, I was like, I knew it. I knew it. And they were like, the agent was, of course, like, what are you talking about? You knew what? And I said, I know that house. The people who were in that house came to an open house that was across the street from that house. And I told the agents when they came, after those people left, they're going to do something real estate related. You should go capture their information. And they didn't. Well, 3 months later, after the open house, they listed their home. And now 3 months after that, so 6 months later, they're frustrated with their agent and they're wanting out of their contract. They want to use this other agent. I believe had the agent captured their information and stayed in touch with them, he would have had that listing. But he didn't, and he didn't get the listing. That's the power of this prospecting on 2 parallel tracks. Now, even though I just talked about that in terms of open houses, what I want to make sure you understand from this is it doesn't matter if it's a for sale by owner, an expired listing, a social media ad, an internet lead. I don't care what your prospecting is. If you will have this approach of my primary objective is set an appointment, my secondary objective, if I can't get an appointment, is to capture their information, and then I'm going to stay in touch with them about real estate so that when they are ready, they're going to think of me. So let me give you a quick example of where this came from for me. I used to door knock early on in my real estate career. And what I found is sometimes I would knock on somebody's door and they would say to me, I am never moving. They're going to bury me under that tree out front of the house. And I would laugh like I had never heard it before. And if you've done any door knocking at all, you've had people tell you that too. They're going to bury me under the tree. Now, here was the frustration though, was months later, I would still be in that area door knocking, and I would drive by that house and there would be a for sale sign out front. And I would go, what the heck happened? They told me they were never moving, yet they're now moving. Well, what I figured from that is that's why this is so crucial, that every time you prospect, every person you talk to, I'm primarily trying to get an appointment, but if I can't, I've got a select group of people. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? Because what's going to happen over time is those people turn into buyers and sellers. And much like that farmer, if you can grab those people, down the road, 6 to 9 months are going to turn into an abundance of business for you. Let's talk about one other area. Let's talk about internet leads. Now, I don't care if it's Zillow, Realtor.com, your own website, a company website. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. And I'm not going to tell you to stop doing them, by the way. Internet leads can work. But I do want to be honest with you about what you're actually dealing with when you're talking about an internet lead. Because what's happening is it's 11 o'clock at night. They're just kind of thinking like, what if we did sell our house? Maybe it's time to go buy a new house, whatever. So they jump onto some internet site. They're looking at properties and it pops up at some point and says, you need to register on this website. So they go register on the website. You then get the lead. Now, what ends up happening is agents call those leads. And again, I did a study on this back in 2009. We tracked leads that had come in that agents within 1 week said this lead is no good. And if they said it was no good within 1 week, I wanted to find out, okay, what happened with that lead? Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking about the leads that they said were good leads. These are leads that within 1 week, the agent said it's no good, it's dead. Well, I went back and called all of those leads from the year before. And guess what I found out? These dead leads that the agent said were no good within a week, 1 year later, 50% of those people had moved. So it doesn't matter your lead source. And I would say on especially an internet lead, you just got to know the nurture or process for them to mature into becoming a buyer or a seller is just going to take a little bit longer. But if you'll take this same approach with them, and that is calling them on the phone, with a primary objective is I need to set an appointment with you. My secondary is I want to capture your information so that I can stay in touch with them. And again, just to give you one more time that script, I work with my clients at their pace. I have a select group of people that I stay in touch with. I'd like to add you to that list. Would that be okay? They're going to say yes. You're then going to add them to your select group, stay in touch over time. They mature. Because you've been staying in touch, you're the one they call and they say, come list my house. Wouldn't you love to get that instead of chasing people that are at ground zero every single day? I know I enjoyed it once I started doing it. Now look, if you're going to only take one thing from this video, let it be this. You don't have a lead problem. You have a conversion and nurturing problem. The people you need to build your business are already there. You're crossing their path. However you're prospecting does not matter. The question is, do you have a system and structure set up in place that allows you to stay in front of those people long enough that you can actually earn their business? So if you're ready to stop starting over and actually build a database that's going to produce a long-term business for you, I've put together a short video that walks you through exactly how I would structure it if it was me. The link is in the description below. Click on it and see if it will help you the same as it did me.